HT Smartcast.
Today's episode will be hosted by Karan Manchoda. Karan is a radio host with 94.3 Radio 1 and is a fellow podcaster of the Tech for Change podcast. Over to you, K.
Thanks, Prasid. Before I begin, I want to say that this is a special episode which is brought to you by GE Healthcare Global Services. Now, before we get into anything else, digital transformation of the healthcare industry is actually really picking up speed like never before. And as possibilities increase, our hopes of what's possible in healthcare now, systems in the majority of the healthcare sector, well, they continue to spiral out of control, be it the digital infrastructure, data analytics, or the decision support used in the diagnosis and treatment of diseases. Now, with a rapidly changing industry environment and the evolving patient populations, if we are to solve the toughest healthcare challenges, the need to think differently to deliver the right technologies is actually the need of the hour. So to address all of that, today we've got a very special person from the health tech sector. Mr. Karan Makela is with us, who's President and CEO of Imaging at GE Healthcare, on a mission to digitize healthcare and drive productivity that improves outcomes of patients, providers, and health systems and researchers around the world. Hello, Mr. Makela. What a privilege to have you here, and welcome to Mint, etc. How are you?
Great to be here. Thanks a lot, Kay.
I want to kind of quickly just jump into today's topic because it's one that I think that we're all looking forward to. So, diving straight in, we have seen an acceleration in the digital transformation of the healthcare sector over the past few years. What would you really attribute to this growth, if I may ask you, and what are some of the emerging upcoming tech trends that you foresee for the healthcare sector moving forward?
Yeah, it's a topic on everyone's mind. I think the acceleration that we got from COVID has really been enormous. Many of the topics were there before COVID, but I think the speed of change that COVID has brought has just taken everyone's breath away. So obviously COVID, we've been living through for the last 2 years. We went through the heavy lockdown phase. During that phase, many impacts on patients, on healthcare providers, on technology providers for them. Obviously a huge focus on respiratory infections and the treatment of those. At the same time, maybe a bit less focus on cardiovascular and cancer patients and chronic conditions. But during that period, what we all saw was a massive emergence of telehealth.
Okay.
All around the world, this idea of consulting with your physician remotely was sort of interesting, but didn't really take off. It really accelerated during COVID. We saw many elective procedures being delayed, and then we saw a massive catch-up of those procedures coming afterwards. And then, of course, what that meant for many healthcare providers was challenges with their staffing and with the workload for their staff.
Right.
So when you talk to healthcare providers, the burnout of their staff, the training needs of new hires, and minimizing the workload on the burnout and how we support them became a big trend as well. So there's three big trends right there. And I think for us as healthcare equipment and technology providers, this whole thing accelerated AI as well. So it's only 3 years ago when in the big conferences like RSNA, for example, with many customers, AI and deep learning was something interesting that might sort of come at some point. But times have changed in the last 3 years, and we really see AI having a big impact, both supporting the ease of use of devices,
right,
make training easier, the interpretation of images to support the diagnostic decision of the clinician, and also just generally helping with image interpretation. So I think it's really accelerated the democratization of health, the accessibility of health, and I think probably improved outcomes and reduced cost as well.
So which means that you've been working overtime.
So we've been very busy. I mean, in the early days, very busy with sort of AI and technology and solutions. And of course, I think we'll talk about also as, hardware providers, increasingly with supply of systems has become an issue as well.
Right. So since you've explained, the global perspective, I mean, at what stage do you think particularly India is at in terms of precision health adoption in comparison to maybe other markets? And if I may extend that question and kind of ask you what particularly GE Healthcare is doing to accelerate the pace of innovation in India's healthcare landscape.
Yeah, no, I think in India's healthcare, how we can use technology to drive better accessibility, better quality of care, and better affordability of care are always topics. I've been coming to India myself for more than 10 years with G Healthcare, and these themes of accessibility, quality, and cost are really ones front and center of mind for us here in India. And we have quite a wide range of healthcare in India, a range of needs, a range of healthcare providers as well. It's probably one of the markets for us with the broadest range in terms of those needs.
Right.
And of course, in India today, non-communicable diseases are still 60% of all deaths, 40% being communicable. And within non-communicable, the big four, of course, are cardiovascular, chronic respiratory, cancer, and diabetes, making up more than 80% of the 60%.
Right.
So in those diseases, how can we bring better precision health, better precision insight, better personalized medicine to treat patients more effectively? I mean, it's a challenge for us around the world. I think the thing for us in India is we have a massive technology center here with the Jack Welch Technology Center, named after our former CEO. This is our biggest R&D center outside of the US. And many of the tools that we need to do this AI revolution, to focus on these big four disease categories, to give personalized care, many of the tools we use globally are developed here in our team here. So our team here is really world-class, the leading edge in terms of helping us to the AI systems, the machine learning systems, that do things, I would say, in three buckets. The first one is help me to make a better picture. So
right.
I take the raw data from the sensors in the CT machine, the sensors in the MR machine. I construct it into a picture. There's signal and there's noise, as I'm sure you'll understand. And AI can really change the signal to noise ratio, the quality of the picture, and the speed. The second thing we use AI for is to help interpret the images. So I have an image. Help me identify what's on the image. Help me to label it, help me to find suspicious lesions, help me to tag lesions from before. Second category. Third category is help me with the workflow. So as Jan, as a patient, goes through a hospital from X-ray to CT to surgery, help me with the planning of that, help me with the workflow. Those three areas are the big areas we see machine learning having a big impact in these four diseases, really driven by what we have here in Jack Welch. Okay.
Right. I was going to ask you about the role that technology plays in unlocking the promise of precision, but you actually just answered that question, which is fantastic. Since that sounds also promising and wonderful, I mean, do GE Healthcare's India-based factories have the potential, perhaps, to act as, in your opinion, global hubs for medical device manufacturing? Or do they already do that?
Yes, I mean, we've been manufacturing in India for more than 30 years. We formed a very successful joint venture with Wipro more than 25 years ago, and that's been a huge support for us and India in terms of progressing manufacturing here. We've in fact recently invested in our fourth facility here in India as part of the Indian government's PLI, or Production Linked Incentive Scheme. And many of our products we sell globally, we've launched both the design and the production here in India. So for example, the CT scanner is probably, rapidly becoming what the stethoscope was 50 years ago. The CT scanner is a huge multi-purpose tool. X-ray dose is really coming down a lot. And our newest range of CT scanners we call Aspire, and those Aspire scanners were developed here in India and first made here in India in these plants. So it's something where we're bringing our latest AI, our latest technology into a family of scanners, which again will really be the start of personalized care for many of these patients we talked about. Right. We have 4 plants here now. We make more than 30 products in India, which we sell in more than 70 countries around the world.
Right, so fantastic. So that's been happening for a while. How have the latest advances in genomic research, maybe innovative technologies and data-led platforms really transformed, care pathways such as maybe oncology?
So I would say that there's a huge amount of research and funding from many organizations, both academic, hospitals, companies such as ourselves, pharma companies. So there's a huge topic of interest, which of course, Kay, is why you're asking. We are very well positioned in many of these disease pathways because we have so much hardware already, and we've been GE Healthcare has been providing medical devices for more than 100 years, since X-ray machines. So we're very well known by the physicians, we're well known by the pathways, we understand their challenges. I mean, I tell, for example, a story about, if you think about cardiology, if I have chest pain, I go to my GP, stethoscope, hears a noise, does an ECG, sends me to a cardiologist who does a stress echo and ultrasound machine, sends me to a CT to see how my aortic valve looks, sends me to a cath lab, they give me a valve replacement using an interventional suite, they use an ultrasound machine to check how it's worked, I go to patient monitoring. Everything I said is equipment made by GE, right? There are competitors, but we have 7 different bits of hardware in that process. If I start to, have issues with bladder, a prostate problem, I go for an ultrasound, I go for an MR, I go for a biopsy, and then I need to have maybe radiation therapy. I need to have the therapy contouring plan and the beam pathway plan.
Right.
Maybe I go for theranostics. I need to be injected with a radio tracer, injected with a radiotherapy. Again, all of those things I've said, GE has self-sold the hardware. The latest innovations in genomic research, how do we take all of our imaging data? How do we pull in the path lab data? How do we look at the medical record? How do we look at the genomic profile in case of cancer and start to put a picture together using AI, which accelerates the pathway? These products are not, commercial yet, but there's a huge amount of research we're doing. Many partners we've signed up with. So, for example, we announced a few months ago we're partnering with a company called Sophia Genetics. Sophia Genetics is a company who will take the NGS, the next generation sequencing output. So they take a biopsy of your cancer, it goes in the NGS machine, you get the report. Sophia then, very advanced ways of looking at all the different mutations and linking those mutations to which genes are expressed and what symptoms and cancers you get. So we take that from that collaboration with our imaging data and the patient data, and you can really start to predict, hopefully, responses to therapy and outcomes, and really start to tailor the treatment path using all that data. So it's a huge area of interest. It'll, again, really change patient outcomes. It'll change cost of care. It'll give much more access. And this is a very big focus for us.
And speed as well, if I'm not mistaken.
And speed as well. And the other big important thing here is accessing people early in the diagnostic pathway. So often people present with advanced symptoms, but if you can start to see things and you can stop patterns with AI earlier, you can treat them earlier.
Correct.
With huge impact as well. So it's a huge thing for us as traditionally a hardware company, very well placed to join these dots together with these great partnerships moving forward.
I think it's easier to ask what you guys don't do because that would be a smaller list as compared to what you guys actually do. But of course, moving on to, say, for example, we did talk about pathways such as oncology, but let's get a little adventurous. I mean, there's the idea of the metaverse that has captivated the attention of every major tech company at the moment. If I may ask you, do you see GE Healthcare delving into maybe the digital health evolution by combining technologies like AI, maybe VR, virtual reality, Web 3.0, the Internet of Medical Devices, and maybe cloud computing to provide new directions to healthcare? And will we be seeing some of your components actually making a mark in the new health metaverse?
So let's see. I suspect the answer is probably yes, but I think let's talk about tangibly what's going on. I mean, earlier it was VR, now it's more AR. I think we've worked quite a lot, again, with sort of AR, but also with 3D printing, right? Around helping physicians sort of planning interventions, planning surgeries, sort of visualizing the procedure and the path before you do it. We've also done lots of work from a training perspective, both with physicians, with technologists, and our own field service team. So for example, we're doing some work with our field service team using AI when they go out to see a system and they're going through a troubleshooting process. The AI can sort of point to and suggest and highlight things which they can see to make the servicing process quicker. So I'd say all of these things are in development. I think when you start to think about the AR linked with 5G, linked with the pathway insights, linked with the AI, I think we're searching for the best applications first as we speak.
I understand.
Right. Big area of focus. Watch this space.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. That's great to hear. COVID-19 did highlight a lot of supply chain issues that we've had around the world. So as medtech companies prepare actually for the next normal, whatever that is, they have to mandate, I think, to rebuild almost their supply chains with resilience, and that being a key priority, in fact. So how is GE Healthcare actually coping with the supply chain challenges?
I mean, we're always focused on delivering to our customers. So we've all dealt with supply chain challenges. These started almost a year ago now. Our number one focus, we've diverted significant resources to securing supply, to keep supplying systems. So because we know our patients and our customers depend on that. They're replacing old machines, they're adding new hospital capacity.
Right.
I think it's important that at the same time as we're doing that, our customers are going through this big wave of patients coming back, the elective procedures. And I think in general, many public and private health systems, just post-COVID, the public has more appetite for more healthcare investment. So there's the COVID catch-up, but in general, we see investment in healthcare and in imaging growing at a faster rate. So it's a fantastic time in terms of lots of interest, investment, patient outcomes. So for us, it's important to maintain that supply, but at the same time, keep looking at the next innovation, keep thinking about our digital breakthroughs, keep thinking about our next generation of AI-enabled and 5G systems. So it's been a very busy time. Many long nights have been worked. I mean, for me, to my team and my all of GE Healthcare colleagues, a big thank you for taking the personal stress of COVID, especially the people who went out to support service machines in the field, train customers, to run in the plants because they were working through COVID, but also all of our supply chain. So we've stayed very focused on trying to ship product, give productivity for our customers, and still invest for the next generation as well, to not have a lag, because of this.
So, as we come to the end, I think that a couple of things for our viewers/listeners to kind of recap is definitely what I take away is that India has already been kind of leading the way, especially from a manufacturing perspective, and that you feel is only going to grow and become even more, especially looking at innovative technologies and research that happens here. Big thing moving forward, and of course the upcoming tech trends that you talked to us about foresee in the healthcare sector. I like how you said also that till now it's been more VR over AR, but now that's kind of switching up. Maybe we're moving towards more AR. But I think it's anybody's guess what Web 3.0 is going to offer. But it's nice to hear that GE Healthcare is at the forefront of that. I want to thank you so much for kind of joining us and for giving us a little bit of a window into your world. And before we kind of sign off, is there absolutely anything you'd like to say to everybody listening in, especially on behalf of the entire team at GE Healthcare?
Yeah, again, thanks for your recap. I think you covered it. I would say for us, there's huge, developments in technology. 5G is coming, which will have a huge impact about
Absolutely.
How you think about distributed computing and security and access. AI has really come several generations in a very short time. AI is going to help us out. It's always, for us in healthcare, this is going to be driving a lot of personalized care. And for us in GE Healthcare, the India center, our R&D center here, the technology hub we have, is really a core competence and differentiator for GE Healthcare globally. So I think those three things are hugely exciting for our teams here and really help our business around the world. So it's been a great journey, not always stress-free, but we look forward to the future with great optimism. Okay.
Wonderful. Again, thank you for taking out the time. For people who are interested to kind of learn more, I think the best way to kind of see what GE Healthcare is all about is to head on over to their website. It's www.gehealthcare.in. Once again, I want to thank Mr. Jan Makela for kind of joining us, taking us through all of this on this little episode of Mint, etc. Thank you so much, and wishing you guys only the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
HT Smartcast.